Well, thank you so much. It is such a pleasure to be here. And I think I have one of the best jobs in government because I look after the entertainment industry for the city of New York. And there are about 100,000 New Yorkers that work in film and television. Another 40 or 50,000 people work in theater. And it's a roughly $5 billion a year industry for the city of New York. And there are something like 4,000 ancillary businesses that also benefit from film and television production in the city. It's been challenged through the years. It's certainly a cyclical business, and when the Bloomberg administration started in 2002, a lot of people were faking New York in Canada because Canada offered very attractive tax incentives and the currency fluctuations worked to their advantage as well. And we had a lot of projects that were faking New York in other parts of the world. And that's why we created the Made in New York logo, which you can see over there, which is part of our branding initiative. But it's also to show great pride for the projects that are really made here. And all of the shows, and certainly the ones represented here tonight, are made in New York. And there are just thousands of people that work in this industry that really have an amazing opportunity to be creative and very successful in our city. The benefits of film and television production are not only employing the people in New York, but it's advertising we can't buy. People around the world see these shows in syndication and they're smitten with New York City and they want to come here and they want to visit and visit the shops and restaurants that the Gossip Girls go to, and they see Boardwalk Empire and they think it's New Jersey and then they find out it's really New York. But it's just incredible what these shows do for the tourism aspect, and that's another part of the initiative of supporting film and television in the city. We have 23 primetime shows that are in production in New York City right now, which is a record. And we've got more coming. And we're so proud of the shows that are represented here tonight. I think it was Dick Wolf who had said many, many years ago that the city of New York is a character in the series. And I think it's so true for each of the productions that are here tonight. And, New York is a living set. And approaching shooting on these various locations, working with the communities. How do you juggle that? You want to be out there, and as you said, you're arriving on a location. You want to have all of the conveniences at your fingertip. What are some of the things that, it's a busy city. It's a community where people are living and working. So how do you strike that balance on a day in, day out basis with the production crews to kind of work alongside a city of 8.5 million people with a lot of traffic?
Well, it's actually a lot easier than you would think, and a lot of directors that come from LA or filmmakers are sort of frightened by the prospect simply because it is such a busy city and so congested that they think it's going to be impossible. And really, with the mayor's office and with it being a film-friendly city, with the exception of what's called a hotspot, where there have been too many companies filming within a finite period of time, the community is usually welcoming. We post the streets that we're going to be there ahead of time. We make sure that all of our set PAs are courteous and deal with the public and don't disrupt anything more than what we have to. We try to be very quiet if we're working at night and make sure that we're not, to the extent we can, put any lights in any of the windows, or if something is unusual, we may actually relocate someone in an apartment to a hotel so that they're not inconvenienced. And there's always someone who's going to be unhappy, and there'll always be someone on the street that might be angry that they can't pass exactly when they want to pass. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I think the city sort of welcomes, filming and filmmakers and just goes on with their life as they do with any other
Most
thing.
New Yorkers just want to know what's going on.
Yeah.
They'll see it, and now I think they're getting a little bit more used to it because they're seeing all of these big Haddad trucks that are, populating the city, and we post signs. We have a document that's called Keys to the City that we require all productions to sign for before we give them their permits, and these are friendly reminders of what productions should be doing before, during, and after the production. And then on to represent the industry, our office will go out and meet with the community boards, we'll meet with the business improvement districts. And we find that most of the time, people just want to know what's going on. Parking is paramount in New York, and you're never going to always make everyone happy with that. Law and Order, is known for going to multiple locations in one day, and we always used to point to them as a model because they're moving around the city at a rapid clip. Can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, an average production day. I mean, how many days are you on location versus in a stage?
Well, a typical show, virtually every show was shot in 8 days, the shooting schedule. And as I said earlier, it was a little give and take about how much law and how much order, but on the order side, because everybody has it backwards, the order side being the prosecution half of the show. It depended on how heavy one versus the other was, but we quickly had to learn, because I was the cinematographer on the show for many years before I started directing, and then was doing sort of alternately doing both. But our trick was that we worked small. We did not have a huge footprint. We did not have gigantic trucks. We had big trucks, but you can see a bigger production sometimes when you said about the Haddad trucks. I mean, we tried not to take up too much space because there were always concerns about the communities we were in. We shot in the Upper West Side quite a lot, as I recall. I think because the producers used to live there, but anyway. And also it aided us because we could get in and out of places quickly without moving 1,000 huge vehicles. Our grip truck was, occasionally when an LA director would show up, they'd look at the grip truck and say, "That's the whole grip truck?" I say, "Yeah. Everything we need is in that truck." Parking, we neglected the parking people, because without them, you can't even begin your day. And we had, at least on that show, and I've found on other shows I've done over the years, that they're just remarkable. They post the signs, as Meryl said. You get there in the morning, there's space for the trucks. They plow the snow if the snow needed. We shot through every kind of weather. And then, as you said, Catherine, oftentimes we'd have to move in the middle of the day, and rarely tried to move more than once, but sometimes we had to. We'd move twice in one day. And as Amy and Meryl certainly know, that's a big deal.
And what about the talent on screen? And especially with Broadway here and live theater, there's so much to draw from. I mean, you go to see a Broadway show, you look in Playbill, everybody's worked on Law and Order, now The Good Wife and Boardwalk Empire. It's such an amazing place, so many opportunities now for actors. And so in turn, when you're casting or looking for that talent, you've got a lot to choose from because people are drawn to this city.
That's true. I mean, I certainly, I've shot in both in LA, and I guess you have too, in LA and New York, and I guess we all work there. And I just find, without insulting LA, I just find a deeper pool of more interesting actors here. I mean, when you really want to find real-looking characters, when you're in LA, it's a challenge, because everybody has made every effort not to look different.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true.
So it's really, and I've been out there just trying to find a character and just been frustrated about it. If I wanted a surfer, I could find it, but I always struggled with that when I'm in LA, and I do find that the talent pool here is just enormous.
Better trained.
Better trained, absolutely better trained.
I think it's because of the theater.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
You might agree, because I think New York is the theater capital of the U.S.
Have any of you worked in theater?
Never. I'm too frightened to work.
A little bit.
Yeah?
Actually, it's
I need to do it over.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. Off Broadway and stuff.
And looking at working on a TV series versus working on a feature film, very different, a very different approach. we're becoming a TV town, it seems, and we like that because it provides steady work. I mean, if you look at the original Law and Order, it was on the air for 20 years, employing so many people with steady employment. I mean, talk about economic development. I mean, it was a model. Any thoughts about working in TV versus film and the differences there, Amy?
Sure. Well, I mean, actually, Gossip Girl was the first television show that I ever worked on. I always had worked on features before that. And I had no intention of making that transition. It just kind of came along, and I thought, this is interesting. Let's see what happens, and didn't imagine that 5 years later I would still be doing this show. But I really love the process of television. I love the involvement you have with the characters and the story and the evolution. And as a producer, you have a really stronger voice than you usually do in a feature situation. I love the pace of it, where you make decisions and things happen, and the product is completed and it's on the television. I mean, I love that, because I worked in the world of independent films, and many of them never saw the light of day. So that's very satisfying. Like, there's just a completeness to the process that I find very satisfying. I do believe you sacrifice creatively somewhat. You can't approach the material the same way. You can't approach the way that you shoot things the same way. I mean, there's definitely a way to get television done within the parameters of your schedule and budget that is not what you would do in a feature. Just as an example, we'll shoot 6 or 7 pages a day, and on a feature you'll shoot 2 to 3 pages a day. So that's a big difference. An ideal world is being able to go back and forth between the two, and really use both sets of skills in the other setting, because they can really benefit each other. Like, being informed in both ways can really help you be both a better television and film producer.